Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 91, March 27th, 2013. George builds an AM/FM radio kit. Hello, everybody. It's K9EID from Pleasant Hope, Missouri, and we are here for Ham Nation tonight. It's a show about ham radio and having fun. And speaking of fun, we move out to Costa Mesa for one of the other great hosts, Gordon West. Gordo, how are you tonight?
Well, I am fine, and hi to all our Ham Nation viewers, and we have Bunosaurus with us tonight, and Bunosaurus is going to be under Julian's control. Julian is here tonight, and he's got his good-looking ears on as well. And chat room, you are so important to us, so keep it coming, and we want to see you all at the Dayton Hamvention coming up another month and a half from now, maybe 2 months. Dayton is the place to be. We've got a forum on one of the days. We've got a continuously man and woman Ham Nation booth for the rest of the time. And then we're going live with Leo Laporte on AM radio. So you'll hear more about that. But be tuned in to the Dayton Hamvention coming up shortly. And week after next, Amateur Electronics Supply. Well, I won't be there. Everybody else will be. And have a great time in Milwaukee. The big AES Superfest weekend after next. So, Bob, I'll turn it back to you. But one last note before I do. Ham instructors, we have free of charge the ham training manuals. All you need to do is to log on to www.haminstructor.com, and you can download those manuals, and then we'll show you ways to get PowerPoint DVDs for teaching your class. Couple more weeks, we're going to make a big announcement as to what we're going to be doing here to promote the instructor program. And, of course, Radio Club of America. Carol Perry's in charge of the youth program. And, boy, at Dayton Hamvention, they're going to have some excitement in the youth forums as well as the forums for ham radio teachers and instructors. So we'll see you all at Dayton. So, Bob, back to you, and then we'll let Julian take over when we next go to his video.
All right. Well, it's always good to let everybody know if you're teaching a class or you have something going on with your club, please get these manuals. They're really good. And, of course, hams like the word free. So
and they are.
They are. That's good. And you also should know, any of you that have clubs doing activities, Gordon and George or myself, we don't do them together, but separately, we do club meetings on Skype. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to bring programming to your club. And clubs really need programming, and we provide that. We've had a lot of fun. I did one in the UK here recently, and it was so much fun. So no matter where you are, have a good, strong Skype signal, and away you go. So let us know, either one of the three of us, and we'll set it up for you. Well, let's go down and see what George has got before we get on to his smoke and solder part. George, you doing okay tonight in Mississippi? What's happening?
I'm doing fine tonight, Bob, and glad to see everyone here. And, you know, we like to pass along tidbits of information and things we've learned through experience over the years along to our viewers. And I've got one for tonight. Just because the light is off on the electric fence does not mean the fence is off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to go down and see what Don's got cooking. Don, you have an electric fence around your place down there?
No, and there's a very good reason for that. I grew up in Oklahoma, and you know, indoor plumbing is optional. So no electric fences here, but we do have I saw them just a few days ago, in fact, coming home from work. No stuffed bunnies here, but I saw what I think is a mated pair of cottontails on our property. So hopefully we'll have some little tiny baby bunnies soon running around for Easter. So, yeah, we're excited about that.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Well, later on in the show, we'll have Cheryl here. Cheryl's watching the chat room, and if you have any questions and stuff, be sure and let her know, because she can bring it on for you and bring the questions to all of us, and maybe we can be of help to a lot of you. And thanks for being in the chat room. And we'll see what kind of questions we can get going from Cheryl later on. Of course, we'll have Newsline, which Don will bring you after a while. And we're all waiting for the smoke to rise. And it doesn't mean we have a pope here tonight. We have that George is burning something in his lab. So smoke and solder will be around in a little bit. Oh, golly. So much fun here. There it is. There it is. Hey, but is it hot?
Well, after the electric fence experience earlier today, I'm not going to check it, Bob.
Okay, we're waiting. We're waiting. Later on. Okay, a few minutes, we'll be there. Well, let's go back to Costa Mesa, and Julian has some things. Julian, nice to have you with us tonight. And you've been out working and keeping the editing bin going. Hey, what do you got there? Aha.
That's my little bunny friend. It's a little present, a little interloper, if you like, from Gordo and Susie. Don't know what his name is, so we're taking suggestions. hamnationvideo@gmail.com if you have any suggestions. But the reason I'm here, Bob, is because we have a couple of user or viewer submitted videos which we'd like to present to people tonight. Our good friend Jim Wilson, K5ND, has done a bunch of videos for us in the past. Well, he teamed up with Ray Novak, N9JA, to come up with a video all about the Boy Scouts of America Ham Radio Merit Badge. So this is a cool little video. It's very short, but very sweet. So if we can play that, Brian.
On location for Ham Nation, this is N9JA and
K5ND from the National Scouting Museum in Irving, Texas.
We're here today for the Radio Merit Badge Workshop.
But enough from us. Let's see what the scouts say.
I thought it was fun.
K5 VBC Portable, this is K2BSA Stroke 5, Echo Mike 12.
The workshop is very fun.
This is a directional antenna. You just point it towards the receiver, and this gives off a little beeping noise.
It's like a scavenger hunt where we're looking for a hidden radio.
So let's say the transmitter is over there, and you point it over there, and it starts making this sound, and you hear no static, so you want to go over there. And eventually you'll find it.
You get to talk to people around the world through radio. You get to learn circuits.
Troop 577, Dallas, Texas.
Troop 577, very good.
Conditions are fading. We may lose you, Clarence. This is K2BSA Stroke 5.
I think the ham radio is pretty cool.
Wow, we had a real good time today with all the kids earning their merit badges. They got to get on the radio, work satellites. They even found a fox in a fox hunt.
It was a fantastic workshop, and every single kid was introduced to amateur radio, saw the magic that's involved there. So we ask you, get involved with scouting. Help out with the amateur radio events in your area, including Jamboree on the Air. So that's it from the National Scouting Museum in Irving, Texas, and Ham Nation on location.
Wow. Jim always does really good videos. I'm actually quite jealous. So good job, Jim. Thanks, Ray, for helping out there. And to ICOM also, who provided a bunch of the Go kits for the Boy Scouts of America. So well done. Really like it. If you have a video and you want to submit it, we don't really ask much. You can go to the guidelines, which are at www.frozen-in-time.com/guide, and that will tell you how to get the videos to us and where we go from there. So we do actually have another video. This one is actually from Don Hill, KE6BXT, who is the ATV guy here in Southern California. And he went to the International Wireless Communications Exhibition in Las Vegas this, what was it, last week, week before. So he has this short report for us from that exhibition. Here we go. Don?
Hello, this is Don Hill, KE6BXT, with a brief look at the International Wireless Communication Expo. Kenwood has the largest booth, so let's start there. It has many divisions here in the booth, but what I'm looking for is the amateur radio section. Looks promising. Let's see what they have to offer. A TS590, a TM281A, a trio of HTs, and a TMV71A. But I think the star of the show was the TS990S with its dual displays, and it can also be hooked up to an external display. The radio certainly has a lot of bells and whistles, and it seems like every one is connected to a menu, a button, or a dial on the front panel. At first glance, this radio may be rather daunting to learn how to use, but Phil Parton, N4DRO from Kenwood, was there to explain the radio and show us how the external display duplicates one of the internal displays, and you can set filters, modes, and everything easily from the front panel. Next booth I visited was the ICOM booth. After finding the literature for the amateur radios, I knew that Ray Novak should be near.
Hello everybody with Ham Nation. Ray Novak, N9JA with ICOM America here at IWCE in Las Vegas. And while this is primarily a commercial two-way show, we have a lot of hams that come by that work in the industry, either in other booths or as retailers of commercial two-way product, or even emergency managers coming to take a look. Doing a variety of ICOM amateur radios with the 9100, the 7600, the 2820, the ID880, and then the 7100 that everybody's drooling. And then I have my trusty D-Star ID51 with me as well. It's been surprising. The first few people in the booth are actually Ham Nation fans, asking where I was, if we had any amateur gear. So, hey, thank you for making me look good in front of my bosses. Okay. Your SP34 to go with the 7700 and the 7800 series. The 7600 that everybody's seeing behind Bob. The ID880, the 7100. Then we have the 2820. And then a radio that seems to have a lot of people's attention is the 9100. This one has the 1.2 gig module in it, so it's HF6, 2 meter 440.
Hi, my name is Sam Hill with Connect Systems Incorporated out of Agora Hills, California. Today I'm here to talk to you about the new technology in two-way radio and streaming video. This is the LTE technology. What we have done is we have taken a 12.5K channel and we can do 4 single channels on that one repeater system. So what this does, this radio right here, it's going to be price point around $500 for the end user. It is public safety rated. Also is capable of doing the ham band 136 to 174 megahertz, or you can do the 400 to 470 megahertz radio UHF system. It is a proprietary system at this time. We're still waiting on the FCC type acceptance for the United States, but it is currently deployed throughout China. That's what they use for their public safety, EMS, fire. You can do still photos or streaming video. You can incorporate it to send or receive this particular image, whatever you capture.
This has been Don Hill, KE6BXT, with a brief look at the International Wireless Communication Expo, Las Vegas, Nevada, 2013. And I'm a fan of Ham Nation.
All right. There you go, Don. Thank you so much. Those guys always send in such good videos, so I'm really happy. If you have a video for us, be sure to send basically what you can do is upload it to YouTube and then send me the link and send it to the address that you should see on your screen, which is going to be hamnationvideo@gmail.com. So we'd love to see your videos, so send them over to us. Bob, back to you.
All right. Hey, those are great. Thanks very much for getting that all together. And I hope all of you that are watching and listening on the podcast get some video into to us. And Julian will help you if you need a little help on what to do and how to do it and where to go. He can help you. Gordo, are you there? I have something real special for you if you're watching. I didn't know if you
I'm here.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Well, first of all, I forgot to clean my microphone tonight. I told you last week, this is really cool. It's called Mic Check. You gotta see this, man. Just go to their website, checkthatmic.com, and it will clean your microphone and it won't do harm to the elements. But while I was doing that, Gordon, I get on 3850. You know, that's where we found Cheryl. And she has a whole bunch of friends on there. Now, I ask you this question, Gordon West. Do you get your hair cut in a regular barber shop in Costa Mesa?
It's a regular shop, but they vary as to who the cutter is and the cuttee. So Julian's going to maybe help out with a few loose locks.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what they have in Cleveland, Ohio, other than the great Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They have a barber there that has a ham radio station in it. And he's on 3850 almost every night from his home. But during the day, if you go in there to get your hair cut, you could get on 40 meters or something. And I want to show you a couple of shots from Nick the barber. Check this out, Gordon. W8NVC. There's his shop shack. And so when you go into Nick's barbershop, you don't have to wait in line. Maybe sometime if there's a lot of DX on, you want to wait in line. You can get on 40 meters. Is that cool?
Oh, and then is wonderful.
That's terrific. And then the next, we'll show you his wonderful card. He's a Harley Davidson fan, of course, and he's right there at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then here's his home station. I just thought it was really cool. Nick's a great guy. He's on 3850 just about every night. But if you go to the barbershop, Nick the barber will take care of you. And, hey, don't worry about waiting in line. You know how it is, Gordon. You go to a doctor's office or you go to a dentist or you go to a barber and you have to wait forever. You don't care at Nick's. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I think that's terrific. I think every waiting room should have an HF radio. So we'll get Ray Novak at ICOM to make it happen. Back to you, Bob.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to let you know there are really some fun people out here. If a lot of you guys want to know what do you do in ham radio? Well, these are just some of the fun things that we get to do. And you'll hear him on 3850 later on with Cheryl. And after the net, have some fun with that. Well, we're going to go back down to New Orleans area, Louisiana, I should say, Picayune, and we're going to hear about what's going on in news. Don, fill us in on Newsline, please.
I can do that. Here, let's go ahead and roll the Amateur Radio Newsline package. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 1858, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, March 27, 2013. Hams on both hemispheres are fighting to retain their antenna structures. First up, New Zealand and Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
Dallas Woods is the complainant who made a presentation to the council's public forum. Woods asked councillors to change the rules so that amateur radio antennas are no longer a permitted activity in residential zones or the landscape overlay which covers city ridgelines. But that presentation did not stop there. According to Woods' testimony, with the modern communications now available, there was no justification for large ham radio antennas as a right in residential zones. Woods also stated that ham radio was no longer needed to help with emergencies. They are also concerned about the health aspects for themselves and passers-by, who could be exposed to higher than what Woods terms as an acceptable amount of electromagnetic radiation from the ham radio antenna when it was operating at full power. The tower and antenna in question belonged to Rick Kiesig, ZL2HAM. He has acknowledged that his antenna did impinge on his neighbour's views to some degree, but noted that there was a gum tree in the same area which was taller than his antenna and blocked much more of the view. He also said that he had taken a number of additional steps to mitigate the effect of the antenna on the view of his neighbours. This included his using a self-supporting tower and an antenna made of translucent fiberglass rather than one with a large number of thick aluminium elements. Nelson's Environmental Inspections Manager is Stephen Lawrence. He acknowledges that he has received such a request from Woods, but he notes that a rule in the Nelson Resource Management Plan specifies that any antenna transmitting on radio frequencies had to do so within the limits of the relevant New Zealand safety standard. He says that Kiesig had already submitted a very detailed self-assessment to Council that shows his antenna system complies with that safety standard. The Council is in the process of seeking someone to peer review this assessment as a double check, but he adds there are currently no grounds to believe that it isn't accurate or that the antenna system is operating outside the proper safety limits. And that's where this one stands as we go to air.
According to ZL2HAM, amateur radio stations such as his that operate in the high-frequency spectrum make them safer at a given power density than cell phones or wireless internet. He notes that a ham radio station in the high-frequency range would need to transmit about 12,000 watts of effective radiated power to have the same power density as a cell phone in normal use. And as that battle heats up, there's better news in a similar struggle closer to home. Heather Emby, KB3TZD.
In April 2012, IWCE N2IS filed an application for a building permit in Morris Township, New Jersey. A month later, the township's code enforcement officer informed Sabre that the proposed 96-foot-high private radio antenna system on his modest 1/4 acre property may violate the height requirement in this zone. On appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Sabre submitted a showing of need for height of an amateur radio antenna support structure. Also submitted was ARRL pamphlet entitled Antenna Height and Communications Effectiveness, and a brief by his lawyer, Fred Hopgarten, K1VR. In December 2012, after soliciting opinions by the township's RF consultant, the township planner, and the attorney to the Board of Adjustment, the Zoning Board of Adjustment held a hearing. Sabre and Hopgarten appeared. At that time, the board voted unanimously that Sabre's building permit should be issued as requested. But the most important aspect of this finding was that what had come to light since. In an opinion letter, the Board of Adjustment attorney that it was apparent that the essence of the FCC's preemptive intent, as expressed in PRB 1, was to guarantee that each amateur radio operator could install functional antennas for all amateur frequency bands at the licensee's residence.
It appears clear that just educating the general public about amateur radio and the service we provide in times of emergency would go a long way in helping to avoid such difficulties. And finally this week, word that jamming of the global positioning system by drivers in the United Kingdom is becoming a growing threat to public safety.
The United Kingdom's Guardian newspaper reports that thousands of people in that nation may be using GPS jamming devices on UK roads. This to be invisible to any form of surveillance while driving. According to the article, there are a lot of concerns that use of these devices could lead to dangers to public safety. This includes overtired bus drivers or others staying on the roads despite the presence of monitoring equipment. More importantly, they also could pose a major threat if vehicles equipped with the jammers were to go in airport areas near aircraft which rely on the global positioning system for navigation. GPS jammers, which can have a range of several hundred meters, can be bought in the United Kingdom for about £30 or about $45 in U.S. currency. While not illegal to purchase and own in the UK, it is against the law to use them. From Charleston, West Virginia, this is Jim Dameron, N8TMW reporting.
And that's all from Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5W73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. And there you go. There's the news for this week. And you can see that I've taken the newsman hat off, and I now have the ICOM hat on. But wasn't it looking nice down there in New Zealand? Of course, it's summertime down there, that side of the world. And it's springtime here. We're looking at 50 degrees here now in South Mississippi. We were up to 60-something today. Of course, a lot of snow up to the north. But here's the point I want to make. Summertime is on the way. You're going to be out on the road, and you're going to want to take a high-performing HF radio, maybe even a solid 2-meter mobile on your next trip. You're going to be away from home. You want to have D-Star in the palm of your hand, have the world in the palm of your hand with D-Star. You can do that with ICOM. En route, on location. The point is you're going to be on the go, and ICOM can help you out with that. VHF, HF, UHF, doesn't matter. ICOM has got you covered. Now, we've talked about the 7000 and the 9100. Let's talk about the 7410 and the 7200. These are HF 6-meter radios. Both employ ICOM's signature DSP technology. The 7410. It's an all-mode HF transceiver, has the double conversion Super-ET system, built-in automatic antenna tuner, built-in 15 kilohertz first IF filter, optional 3 kilohertz and 6 kilohertz filters. This is a great radio for your house, for an office. If you've got a ham shack in your office, I love that blue display. Same display I had on my 746. God, I love that radio. Oh, that's a great radio. The point is that is a serious HF and 6-meter radio. Now, if you want to maybe go out into the field a little bit, you want to check out the IC 7200. This is the radio that is in the Boy Scout of America Go Kit that ICOM has put together. The 7200, a great radio. Selectable filter width and shape, has the digital flexibility, excellent receiver performance, compact and rugged, has a water-resistant front panel. That is a great radio, and that's why they chose it for the Boy Scouts of America Go Kit. Great radios. Now, you want to make sure you go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. You can get all the information you need on all of ICOM's line of HF, VHF, UHF, D-Star. It's all there. And while you're there, enter ICOM's weekly drawing. You got the ICOM swag, T-shirts, hats. Yes, you can look sharp just like me in your ICOM hat. Learn how you can win the monthly grand prize drawing for a free ICOM radio. It's icomamerica.com/hamnation. You're looking at it right there. The official rules are there. All of ICOM's previous drawing winners are there. You can see your name there very, very soon. Now, let's go about 2.5 hours to my north and to George, W5JDX. He's got information on the ICOM drawing. George, pick it up, my friend.
Okay, Don. Yeah, this is your last opportunity to register for this month's drawing. You can register after each episode of Ham Nation. So after the show tonight, go to icomamerica.com/hamnation and register for that free swag. And you could also win the powerful, smaller, and simple to use IC 2300H. It's a 2-meter mobile with 65 watts of output. That's a little more than most HF mobiles, or excuse me, most 2-meter mobiles have. The IC 2300H is built tough. It passes the latest mill standard 810G specifications, including shock, vibration, and temperature test. So make the IC 2300H your rig for rugged mobile operation. So go register after the show this evening and get your name in the hat for one. And I guess it's time for a little smoke and solder, isn't it, Bob?
Absolutely. We've been waiting. So let her go. I have the fire extinguisher over here if you need, but you'll handle that okay. So let her roll.
Well, I'm glad you've got that, Bob. And by the way, I practiced safety while I was working on that electric fence. The water was kind of standing on the ground out there, so when I got shocked, it kind of cushioned the blow a little bit. Don't do that. Tonight, we're going to start a new project here. I've been announcing it for the past couple of weeks that we're going to build an AM/FM radio. And I did that in college, and boy, what fun it was for us to go through and learn the stages of a radio one at a time and do some tests on them and actually determine how they work. Tonight, we're going to begin by building the audio stage of this kit from parts-express.com. And there's 2 different audio kits with it. The first one we build uses an integrated circuit, and we build that and test it out. And then we'll also build a transistorized unit that'll just plug in the IC socket, and we'll have a transistorized audio stage as well. So we get to look at both of those. But tonight, it's the integrated circuit. So if you'll roll the tape, Brian. Tonight, we're going to start on our AM/FM radio kit. So I hope you've got your kit ready to go, because this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a little bit in the process. Let's see what we've got here. A good instruction manual, lots of details in here, theory, instructions on troubleshooting, good information. The schematic is actually drawn on the silk screen here on the board. We can see that we've got big traces here. Everything is through-hole components, and there are big holes here. So this should be very simple. Now we've got a number of parts in here, and I'm going to get me a box lid, and I'll just dump those parts out into here so that I don't lose anything. Now this is lead-free solder. I'm going to throw that to the side. I'm just going to bring out my old roll of Kester lead solder here. The book has a list here of all the parts that are in the unit, along with a checkbox where you can go through and check to make sure that you have all the parts. This is for the AM radio section. And then we talk about the integrated circuit audio amplifier. The first thing they want us to do here is install the IC socket and then install the IC. And you'll notice that there's going to be a notch on the board indicating where pin 1 should be. Pin 1 is always the one immediately below the notch there. And there'll be a matching notch here on the socket, and there'll be usually a notch or a dot here on the chip to help us identify the direction. So we'll install this socket first. Now I'm finding these a little bit difficult to solder, so maybe we should have used some steel wool or some Scotch-Brite on these pads to get off any protective coating that might be there. Now to try to make this go smoother, I just changed to a smaller soldering tip. I'm also going to clean off these traces, as I mentioned a little earlier. I'll use a little piece of Scotch-Brite here, and everywhere I think we're going to need to solder, I'll just polish those connections up just a little. Now I'm going to take a damp paper towel and we'll just get up all that dust off of there. We'll check off the socket. Now let's put the chip in there. We observe the notch goes to the notch. Now the chip is a little bit wider than the socket, so what I will do is just lay it on its side here and push down slightly to bend one side of the pins there. Get them the right distance. So now we can check off we've installed the socket. And the next thing we need to do here is install R43 right here. They've got it identified very well here. They've got the color code as well as the value and all written right there. And we need to put in test point 2, and I believe we can just push it in firmly and it should hold in place. Then we'll need to put in C42. Let's see, C42, 10 microfarad. And it's polarized, and the negative side is marked with an arrow on it. Usually the positive is the longer lead as well. And R44 goes right here beside the capacitor. We'll check that off as we go. C45 goes on the bottom of the chip here. So we're going to have to solder these other end and then put this across the chip. Let's see if our soldering goes any better now with this smaller tip and the polished printed circuit board. Maybe a little bit better. Now C45 needs to go between pin 6 and pin 2. We've still got a few more parts here to go, mostly capacitors. There it is right there, C39. The negative lead will go to the negative hole. There again, the longer one is positive. C40 is going to be a 10 microfarad. It's polarized as well, so make sure we get that right. C41 is another 10 microfarad. C43 is another 470, and that's what's going to be called the output capacitor. It's polarized, so make sure we got positive to positive and negative to negative. CP1 goes right here. And we've got R45, which is a 10 ohm resistor. Now somehow we missed C44, and that's a 0.047. Test point 15 is way over here. Solder's not taken to this as well as I am used to. I wonder if it's 10 specifically for lead-free solder. Let's find out. Let's pull out a little bit of this lead-free. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit on the iron. I think we may have just discovered something here. This board was tinned with lead-free solder, so lead-free solder might actually stick better. I believe that is the case. Learn something new every day. And we also need to put a jumper wire in here that I almost missed. Jumper 2 here. Okay, we need to install the headphone jack. There's a tab on one side of it that's for ground. We'll bend the tab down. Now we've got some wire here to connect the speaker with, and that's going to solder right here to ground. It does make a difference which terminal on this earphone jack you put the wire on, because this is a closed circuit jack, and what it's going to do is normally it's a switch. Connection is going to be made between the two terminals until you plug in an earphone, and then it's going to break the connection that goes onto the speaker. And we've got one more wire Now we need to move on to mounting the battery holder. And we also need to mount the volume pot here. And this is a combination pot and switch. You can actually see the switch right here on the back. Notice that pulls that little piece of metal apart there. When I flip it off, flip it on, they close back. Battery holder, 3 screws, 3 nuts, volume pot, plastic washer, knob, earphone jack and nut, speaker pad, wire. So we've built the audio output stage here. Now let's take a look at the back of the board after today's build. You might want to check yours against what I've got here to make sure that you've got solder in the same spots. Now here's all the parts that should be installed on the front side of the board. And keep in mind that we've got this one lonely test point 15 over here by itself. So let's take a look at the schematic of what we built today. We can see up here at the top, this is where our battery voltage was connected. The negative terminal goes here. The positive terminal is here. And we can see that if we come on down, there's switch 2 right there. So that's the on and off switch on the volume control. If we follow that on through, we see that there's a capacitor right here to ground. And what that does is just filter out the supply voltage. Follow that on down a little further, and we can see that it comes in right here on pin 6 of the IC. And that supplies our power. Pin 4 of the IC goes to ground. If we come back up again, we see our volume pot right here. One side is ground. The other side goes through a capacitor and goes through a resistor out here to test point 2, and right there it stops at this point. Now there's more circuitry tied in here that we have not built yet. The wiper of the pot comes right here through C40, and these capacitors are here to block DC voltages. We follow that on back, and we see that goes into the input of the amplifier here, which is pin 3. That's the positive input of the amplifier. We can see the negative input of the amplifier is tied to ground. That's because that's a balanced input, and we're using it as an unbalanced circuit. Right here we've got a loop between pin 1 and pin 8. These two here set the gain of the amplifier. Right here on pin 5 we've got our output from the amplifier. That has a resistor and a capacitor to ground. These are used here for sort of filtering out any garbage that might be on there. If we followed out the other side, we've got our output capacitor here. This is used to block the DC that would be present here from getting to the speaker. Followed on out a little further, there's our earphone jack right there, and we can see part of that is a switch. And this switch breaks whenever we plug in an earphone. When we unplug the earphone, it connects it on down to the speaker, and the other side of the speaker is tied to ground. We can also see where we tied that capacitor onto the bottom of the integrated circuit from pin 2 to pin 6 here. So that's just a simple audio IC amplifier. That's it for this week. Join us again next week when we'll continue building the AM/FM radio kit that we got from Parts Express. You can find it at parts-express.com, and it's part number 320-084. Now that little kit's going to be a lot of fun to build, and I would encourage some of you to go pick up your kits. A lot of you already have. You can find that at parts-express.com, and it's part number 320-084. And I understand that earlier this week they were sold out of the kits, so just keep checking back. You know, that seems to happen quite a bit here lately. When we start promoting we're building a kit on the show, people want to build along with us, and they're selling out of these things, Bob. I think we're going to call it the smoke and solder effect. So for our contest, so for our contest, you know, last week I asked the question, if you've got a transformer and the primary is connected to 120 volts and the secondary puts out 12 volts, what is the turns ratio of that transformer? Just about everybody got this right, but there could only be one winner, and that's John, N5LHO, and he says it's a 120 volt to 12 volt transformer, so that's a turns ratio of 10 to 1. So congratulations, John. You won the great Constructing HF Wire Antennas book here from Jerry Busting, and we'll have more of these in the future. But for next week's contest, we've got something nice here. You know, I met with Emmett from Radio Waves when I was over at Gigaparts and had a look at his antennas there. And he said, well, why don't you take this one back with you and give it away on the show? So I have, I've got that video edited and out on the web now. If you'd like to see the inside of Gigaparts and talk to some of the people there, well, go check out the latest amateurlogic.tv. We've got the Gigaparts Ham Radio Day special right there. Now, what I've got here that Emmett gave me is a Radio Waves DX80 short. Now, you can find this at radiowaves.com, and that's spelled RADIOWAVZ.com. And what this is, it's an off-center fed dipole, which is a pretty popular, you know, multi-band antenna that you can use without a tuner on a lot of different bands. But this one's a shortened version. The normal one's a little better than 130 feet, I believe. This one is only 77 feet, and the way he's doing that, of course, it has the ballon here that goes in the middle where you connect your coax. But on the longer leg, the one that normally would be 90 feet, they've installed an inductor here, and that electrically shortens it, or excuse me, electrically lengthens it so they can use a shorter wire there. So it's a good solution if you don't have room for a traditional 80-meter antenna, but 77 feet would work. I think this will make a good one here. And we want to thank Emmett and everyone at Radio Waves for donating this. And if you'd like to win it, then answer this question. And you may have to go back and look at the download here if you don't remember the schematic we just talked about. But on there I showed R44 and C42 connected from pin 1 to pin 8 on the IC there. And I said that forms a loop, and that controls the gain of that circuit. What would be the common name for that loop? If you think you know, then just send me an email to hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could win this DX80 short from radiowaves.com. Bob?
All right, good stuff. That was great. I look forward to next week. You do such great work, and you know, a lot of guys. If you want to go back and see some of these things, you can do it on the replays, and it's real simple. You just put Ham Nation into Google, and it'll come up with all the shows. And go out, look what we've been doing, and you can see everything. You don't have to go through a lot of slash bars, dot this and capital that. Ham Nation into Google. And there's what you get. It's real simple. And everything is there. Every show is there, including the first show with the analog man, Mr. Walsh, who plays the theme here every week. And we're really happy about Joe and the show. We're gonna have Joe on here again before long. He's out on tour, though, so much. And he's going out with Seeger, so check your schedules in your local town. If Bob Seeger shows up, his opening act is Joe Walsh. I talked to Joe. He called me yesterday, and I said, Joe, wait a minute. How long's it been since you've been an opening act? And as he says so humorously, he's so funny all the time. He says, I'm always the opening act because I'm usually the only one there. But that's not the case here. So go check him out with Seeger. What a great show that's going to be. And you'll get to hear some of his new songs from his new album, Analog Man. And so we'll see how that all goes. And it's just so much fun to do all these things on Ham Nation for you. I get a lot of emails. All of us get so many requests for things. And this kind of goes along with what you just talked about, George. One of the most frequent questions I get is, how do I take a balanced line microphone and put it into an unbalanced input? As we know, all of the transmitters, with the exception of the Yaesu 9000, all have the 8-pin. Foster is a company that originated it back for the CB days in the 70s, I think maybe the 60s. Foster makes the 8-pin that we're so familiar with. Well, you have in there, usually pin 1 is microphone, pin 7 is ground, depending on the brand. But 2 leads, shield and ground. Well, shield and the microphone. Now, how do you hook that up to a microphone that's got 3 inputs. Here, let me grab this little guy. You know, this microphone, one of the Pro microphones, it has 3 pins. XLR, 3 pins. How do you connect that to, usually, in our case, we have 4 pins, 2 for push to talk, and then the shield and the positive. How do you do that? Very simple. Just as George did to make that balanced input and unbalanced, you have to ground the minus input. And here's how you do it. It's very simple. Here's how she happens. What you do is this is the input from your transmitter. You have a mic lead and you have a shield. And at the other end of that, you have 3 pins. How do you hook 3 pins to 2? There is how you do it. Pin 2 is always plus or hot in America, at least. The Europeans sometimes do a little backwards, but that's okay. Pin 2 is positive. But the shield then hooks up to pin 3, the minus, and pin 1, of course, the ground. That's the minus or the other return of that balanced microphone transformer. You can't just leave it hang. You just can't hook it up to pins 2 and 1. And I get so many guys that will call me or email me and said, gosh, I hooked this thing up and it didn't work. And I said, well, did you ground the minus input? No, I got 2 pins here and I hooked 2 up here. You can't do that. It will not work. So you ground the minus input of the microphone. We have plus, minus, and the ground on all of the balanced inputs, whether it be a transformer output from a mixer or whatever. As George had a minute ago, you had a balanced input on that amplifier. You had to put that shorting jumper to ground that. It's real simple. And I hope that helps some of you. That's the way you can make that happen. So if you have an 8-pin connector that goes to your transmitter, and bring it down here and put it into the 3 pins, and you have to ground pin 3 and pin 1 to the shield, and you're there. And that's how we make an unbalanced input become balanced, or vice versa. And it really is helpful to just experiment with some of these things. You're not going to blow anything up in that's for sure. Just be careful with ICOM. They're the only transceiver that has 8 volts riding on the mic line. And you want to make sure when you're doing ICOM, you want to make sure, wait a minute, I got it upside down, all right, that somewhere in that mic line, you put a decoupling cap. I always put it at the 8-pin lead. Put it inside the cap, the little capacitor. I use 1 microfarad. You want to use no less than 0.47. That's a half a mic. Don't use like a 0.001 or a 0.01. You won't have any low-end bass response. You want to use usually a 1 mic, but it's got to go in series with that lead that goes into the 8-pin. Otherwise, you're going to have your own smoke and solder, and you don't want to do that to your new 7600. I don't think you want to do that. But anyway, make sure. Yes.
Let me ask. So if you accidentally do leave that 8 volts on there and it gets across the coil of the microphone, that will actually damage the mic element, huh?
Sometimes. It depends on how sensitive the microphone is. In some of these real sensitive microphones where we have very, very small wire in the voice coil, it will burn the voice coil out. And I have seen it. It's rare, and I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm here to alert you. I have seen cases where it has done some things to the transmitter because for a minute it has shorted that mic lead to ground, which means that 8-volt power supply went to ground. And I actually have seen a couple of cases in my many years with the ICOM stuff. It took out the 8-volt power supply. Don't do that. It's real simple. Just make sure you put that cap in there. But George, yeah, good question. I'm glad you raised that. You could, in most cases of very sensitive microphones, you could burn the coil out with that 8 volts to ground if you don't decouple it.
Well, good to know. I always knew it was a kind of risky proposition there. And when you hook that up, I guess that element is just going to jump out and just kind of sit there. But after a while, it's going to get warm.
It makes a magnet out of it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. And of course, why is it there? It's there to power electric condenser microphones. That's why it's there. And I never did quite understand, because right beside pin 1, they've got 8 volts. Wow. When I hook up all of my microphones, when I do stuff like that, I put the decoupling cap in the line, but then I take a resistor and come around behind it, and I use that power supply just because I do, but don't listen to me. It's just a strange way to do it. But it's real easy to use the phantom power supply on that line, and for electrics only. And they use electrics because in the early days of ICOM, they had real low gain microphone preamps. And in some cases of the early 3 or 4 models, 720, 730, 740, they had no preamp, but that's another story. But they then in the 735, they put the preamp in the radio, and it's very low gain. So they used electric condenser microphones, which have real high output, and that works great. And you can't have the capacitor in there, it won't power it. So just a little thing, answer a lot of the emails we get about that question. And that's what you did, George, was to unbalance the balanced input of that amplifier with that shorting bar, right?
That is exactly it, yeah, because you've got to complete that circuit. If you don't have the other side grounded or where it can complete the circuit, you're not going to get anything through. And you were talking about the electric condenser elements. I believe that most VHF and UHF radios today actually use a little condenser mic element in their hand mics. But now on the HF side, there's still a lot of them using dynamic mics for the hand mics, aren't there?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And it's just what happens to the designers and the manufacturers. They each have their own way of doing things. But if you know how to do either one, you're okay. Well, we're going to take off and go north to northern Illinois, where they probably have a lot of snow. But George, I have a question before we do that. Do you have your own engineer that comes in and sets up all your controls before you get on the air?
This one right here, you know.
Yeah.
I do it myself.
Well, let me tell you. Cheryl has her own engineer, and I heard him on last night checking out her gear before the show. He had it all ready, so when she sits down there tonight, voila. And you and I and Gordon and Don, we don't have that luxury of having an engineer. You're looking at him. But Cheryl, congratulations on your engineer. It's really cool. I bring to the Ham Nation show Cheryl, K9BIK. Howdy. How are you? How you feeling?
Hi there, Bob. I'm doing much better than last week. Thanks for asking, K9EID. It's great to see you on the other end of the Skype connection here. And hi to everybody in the chat room. How are you guys doing? Thanks for all your questions and interfacing with me. It's always a blast. So I probably want to say hi to George and hi to Don Wilbanks. Nice job, both of you. I thought it was really great. I had a lot of comments in the chat room on both, so that's a good thing. And a special good evening to Mr. Bill Pasternak, WA6ITF. A big hello from Northeastern Illinois to you. I don't get to talk to you on the air so much, so I'm going to do it here. And let's just jump into some questions. There's some things going on here. And, you know, Bob, there was a layover question from last week or 2 weeks ago, pardon me, that I really wanted to ask. It was VE3 MIC Mike. He says he has a hand-drawn diagram from Heil Sound on how to wire a Heil key element. And he wanted to know, Bob, if you drew it by chance yourself. Would that be you or somebody else?
Oh, yeah. Back in those days, it was I. And it's usually today, same thing. Yep, that was That was all back in the early 80s when we brought out the HC elements.
Awesome. That's really neat. And I had a comment for George, NN7X. He says, I want you to tell George for me that we like the way that you describe the parts and their function in the circuit, and it sure helps them understand things a lot better the way you have it laid out for everybody, and they really do like that, and I wanted to just say great job on that. And they love the schematic that was on the printed circuit board, KB1UGS. Mike said that. So you've got a lot of comments that roll your way, and I wanted you to be aware of that. And a lot of times you don't get to see what's rolling while you're doing your part. So also, let's see. Have you ever used... I should say W6ICL IRA. He says, ask our honorable host if any of them have heard of or used the virtual HF transceiver program at hamsphere.com.
I haven't.
I have
Anybody
not,
try that?
no.
Not that one. Okay, but we can move on to the next question for you, though, Bob. K9 MIT chip, which he wanted to ask you if you had the Heathkit, if you built that Heathkit DX60 transmitter behind you, or did you pick that up at a Hamfest or some other place perhaps?
No, I did not. I wish I would have, but I didn't. I got this crazily. It came from eBay, and it's wonderful. It is so clean, and it was built so well. I'm really thrilled. It works really well, and it's like mint. So I'm really really happy to have it, and I use it on the AM morning nets. But no, I didn't build that one, but have built a lot of other Heathkits, and I miss Heathkit.
It really caught their eye. So they have a nice piece of equipment there, no doubt about it. And a question from KF4UTH Tom, and this one's from Mr. Smoke and Solder. George, I hope you have an ear tuned to me here. After a large project, could it all be made into single video and made available for those of us who are late in getting the kit? Is there a way to maybe get part of the video or only during the replays and the archival Ham Nation?
Well, you actually have to go download the whole video, or you can watch them on YouTube. You know, Ham Nation is available on YouTube as well, and you could go on there and skip about 2/3 of the way into the video, and somewhere along in there you'll find the beginning of Smoke and Solder. I don't have them all assembled into like a continuous length video because they're not all produced at once like that. So yeah, you just have to go download them for now.
You can download them or play them, or download them or play them off the site directly. Can't you pause that stuff too? Isn't that possible? You can pause?
You can pause, and I'm not sure on the rewind. I haven't actually, or the fast forward, I haven't actually tried that on the Twit video player. I know you can scoot it up real easy though in YouTube and just pick out a different spot to start watching. And the Twit player may do that as well. I'm just not sure.
I think the YouTube is probably a little more user-friendly for the fast-forward part. I have had to do that recently, and it was a little bit touchier. There's a little bit of a trick to it. So I think that your suggestion for the YouTube is the way to go there, George. As usual, you know all that stuff about the video, so amongst other things, of course. And last, we have Jim, K5ND. I really thought this was very interesting. It was a comment, and it was about, he said, with an Elecraft K3, there's no solder in an Elecraft K3, but my comment, there is one caveat. Unless you have to desolder a resistor off one of the boards to allow the 9 megahertz output to work. In other words, for the pan adapter, if you should have the optional pan adapter. I think that's the only time that there's any soldering involved with that Elecraft K3, and that's kind of fascinating in as of itself. I always think that all electronic things are soldered, but not necessarily with the Elecraft K3. And thank you for your question, Jim, K5ND. We appreciate it. And I think that pretty much wraps up what I have here, other than I just wanted to know how your week has gone, Bob. I don't get a chance to talk to you so personally, and I just wanted to say, do you have a great week? Last 7
was
days?
A fascinating week. What I've done for most of this week is I'm working on the text of this book. And we're getting real close. Talk about, here's the front cover. So you guys, you'll laugh at this maybe now, but when the book's out here, you saw it first, right here. This is how we do it all. I know there's a much more professional way of doing it, but I take that and I send it to my wonderful Michelle, who does all of our graphics in the company, and they're going to do it. But all of the other stuff is happening. Gordo's working on a little piece for me, but we hope we're going to make it to Dayton, but I'm not sure. But there's 160 scans, 160 images, about 40 pictures, and it'll probably end up with 120, 30 pages of all this stuff. It's it's all science. I'm not writing it. I just compile it. And if you missed out on the original, this was, I did this about 76 to 78, right in there. Tens of thousands of them are out there, and Gordon will probably attest. It's just a wonderful book, and I just keep notes all my old life, and that's what they are. A lot of them are hand-drawn from some of the guys that are passed on. But, man, the science never changes, Cheryl. So that's what I've been doing, and that's why you haven't heard me on the air a lot. I'm listening to you guys and gals. But I've been really busy with all of that.
You definitely are missed on 75 meters, and I definitely want to say this to W8NVC for submitting his ham shack for Ham Nation. I am so excited, but I don't think you got this part of it. He says, I'm just getting my fix for today, he says on his QRZ, and I just love this. I got to remember this. I have AROCD, which is amateur radio obsessive compulsive disorder. I know I have it. So anyways, thanks so much. Nick the Barber, we love you. You did a great job of doing that. And I just wanted to say it's the magic of amateur radio, after all. That's what it's all about. And please come and join us at AES, the 2013 AES Superfest in Milwaukee. I'll be at the Ham Nation booth wanting to meet and greet and talk to all of you. And I'm going to have a giveaway. It's a mystery antenna, just hint, hint, hint. So come on down, the 5th and the 6th of April. We hope to see you then. Thanks for watching tonight, guys. All right. Take care. 73.
Hey, thanks for being there. Glad you're feeling good. And your blinky blinkies. Gordo, did you catch the blinky blinkies?
I did. I think they're doing some CW, so maybe they're down on 3850. All right, we're going to be on 40 meters tonight, and I'm not sure exactly what frequency, but tune around 7268 or so, and we'll go there right now and see if we hear the tune-ups. Back to you, Bob.
It's actually going to be on 7272
Got the old 7600 fired up tonight. What'd you hear, George?
It's going to be on 7272 tonight, I understand. So I guess they had to change frequencies. Maybe someone else was already on 7268.
Where's your dewdrop in D-Star?
Yeah, the dewdrop in is on Star, dewdrop in Star. That's Echo Link node number 355800. The D-Star is off again tonight, but I did talk to our friend Tom Sampasico, KB4HQA this afternoon. He's out of the hospital. He's at home. He's doing well. And he plans to bring the D-Star net back for us on Reflector 14 Module C starting next week. And it's good to hear Tom's doing well. So 7-3, everyone. We'll catch you on the nets.
Okay, thanks, George. Really, thank you for all you do. I know it takes a ton of time, and we appreciate it. All right, well, we will see you all subsequently. One other thing, I'm getting an awful lot of requests. I mentioned this briefly last week. This is strictly a book about audio, but a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on, and I wrote that again back around 1980, but it's been a Bible for many of the roadies and the front of the house engineer. But there's a lot of stuff you can learn, especially the last 30 pages are worth just all the charts and graphs. But just call Heil Sound and you can get it from our website. The phone number, you got to call there. There you go. Hey. And Judy will help you Yeah, there's some things of use in there, isn't there?
There's a lot of stuff of use in here, and some of it I knew, but some of it I didn't. And it's always great to review and learn new things. Some of these things they don't do the same way anymore, but it's great to know where it all started.
Yeah, and where else do you get to see this published? The Fletcher-Munson curve that we talk so much about. And yeah, you can go get all this on the internet, but it's much easier to pick it up, and it's right here, and you can pay a lot of attention to it. And we need to pay more attention to those kind of things, how our ears work. 7-3, everybody. Gordon, we'll catch you on the net. Mike and Al and Dale, all you guys. I think Bill's on tonight, so thanks for the great work all of you do on the Afternets. And we'll talk to all of you on the air somewhere, somehow. We'll be a little high, a little low. We'll be in there. We'll see you right back here next week on Ham Nation. Thanks to Leo Laporte and all of the staff at Petaluma for the bandwidth and the production facilities. This is K9EID. Bye-bye for now.